traffic jams to flooding and gradual unemployment and income disparities. These are the problems of an unplanned city or an unplanned country. There's never been a time when the need for an urban planner has been more dire. Despite the rapid pace of urbanization in India, we seem to be having a lower number of urban planners than most developing countries. There's just about 5,000 registered urban planners in India today. Clearly, there's room to disrupt. Today on the show, we take a look at the youngsters and the organizations doing just that.
It's a very small experience that happened in Tannery Road, which is an area in Bangalore of low-income housing. They had a black spot which literally found no solution. The community itself had got together and proposed a park in that black spot because they had their own creche that was located there, which was their own kids that are going, and this black spot is right opposite to them. When I tried to work in the capacity that I tried to work with them, approaching the government, approaching the BBMP, approaching the person who's supposed to come and collect and clear that black spot, it was literally a dead end. There was no solution, there was no way I could do it. We can clean it up once, we can clean it up twice, but you couldn't do anything beyond that. This requires an institutional change.
In a country which generates about 1.3 lakh tons of garbage every day, Sobia felt that the only way to create a change was by being part of the system. Sobia started off her career as an architect, but once she got hold of the solid waste problem, she decided to change her attention to urban planning.
With architecture, that's all I can do. But how can you be more impactful, or at what level can you be more impactful with this knowledge and with this understanding of the ground realities? So Bangalore has 198 wards, and each of these wards were assigned one dry waste collection center. What I wanted to do is understand the capacity of these centers and the way it was being addressed to the waste generated in the ward. If the size actually matched the amount of dry waste that the ward generated, and secondly, to also see the aesthetics of the center, because this was, sure, they were managing waste, but did they have to still be dirty, or could they go a step further and actually be centers where every citizen could actually come and drop by their waste? What could the potential of this be as a space?
Sobia isn't the only one pondering and trying to solve the conundrums that urban India is posing. Her friend Sudeep Mehti is another young professional who wants to impact the urban landscape in the country. He too started off as an architect, but is today an urban development and accessibility specialist.
What really got me into this particular field is the understanding that the solutions don't lie within the plots. The solution actually lies outside. I think you need to address to actually make an impact in the city. You need to kind of address the city as a whole in terms of mobility, in terms of sanitation, in terms of water.
With his expertise being in urban mobility, most of Sudeep's work revolve around setting right urban roads. This essentially means making sense and finding solutions to problems in different neighborhoods. One such project was here in HSR layout in Bangalore. This busy junction used to be one that witnessed many traffic accidents due to a lack of signals despite being a wide junction. Sudeep and his team managed to set it right.
The unique case of this particular junction is that because HSR lies at the corner of Outer Ring Road and Silkboard Junction right there, there's a lot of through traffic that goes through the neighborhood from the Outer Ring Road into the Hosur Road, and thereby there's a lot of traffic in this junction. Now, what has happened over the years is that the traffic has increased, creating a lot of congestion at this point. There was a need for intervention so that there is pedestrian safety. What we suggested, what we at Embark India did was to work with the community and suggested a set of recommendations which included adding a signalization of this particular junction. We also talked about how pedestrian safety is really important at this junction, and for that they really need to have the footpaths mended in a particular geometry, in a particular way, so that the pedestrians are safe while they are crossing the street. So, based on a recommendation, a lot of these installations were done. The conditions of the pavements, as you see of today, is newly paved, and The crossings are going to be clearly marked out. We're also going to have medians positioned at the center so that there's a more controlled vehicular movement at the junction.
Plans and visions like Sudeep's and Sobia's that engage community are the need of the hour today, say experts. They say that while the landscape of urban planning is itself witnessing a change in the country, there are not as many young and aspiring urban planners to help shape its direction.
Take a look at what's happening in Mumbai, right? The 2034 plan has now been reviewed, it's been called back, and they've set up a group of people including the voice of citizens. Civil society is participating actively now and has been requested to participate by the government in the creation of 2034 Mumbai. What does that represent? It represents the need to have urban planners, to be able to have the professionals and yet be able to include the voice of what makes Mumbai. The requirement is, what is the vibrancy? What is the economic impact you want? How many people are going to find new jobs there? What's the kind of livelihood?
A recent study by the Ministry of Urban Development shows that there is just one urban planner for every 75,000 people in the country, a ratio lower than most other developed and developing nations. Despite the huge need for urban planners in the country, experts say that there is little space for them in the system.
What tends to happen a lot is that people who study urban planning and design tend to return to architecture because there isn't a space for planners. There are almost no firms that are doing the kind of work that we are attempting to do now. And that's a real problem because we are all interested in improving our cities. Everybody out there is energetic about it. But architecture is not enough. That scale is not enough. We need to start thinking big. And really nobody, the municipal corporations and stuff, the planning agencies, they don't have the capacities right now to even get people from outside and give them that kind of work that's required. You can see the successive failures of all these master plans that are going all around. They're not doing the job that they require. So all of us are trained, we want to do work, we're looking for spaces to do that. And the system needs to make some way, while we also have a role to play here.
What's the best reason to get into urban planning, and how will you know whether it is your career calling? Sobia has one tip to offer.
Planning firms do restrict themselves to a research level for the interesting projects because you're not able to engage with the government, you're not able to engage with the system, and you haven't been let in to start that interaction and even use. It's interesting research projects, but it's just limited to that. To then moving and saying that you want to be involved in a practice, not just research. So being a part of that is, or wanting to be a part of that is but obvious. So I would think that definitely for them to come in and a lot of young planners to try and get into the system, taking up live projects through their dissertations and their final projects is going to be really impactful because as soon as you do that, you're already in touch with a reality that exists on ground. And from there, then getting involved into the system becomes much easier because you would then face the challenges that you would face as a professional rather than taking a conceptual project for your dissertation.